Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now, today I am joined by the amazing Joshua, otherwise known as Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. I wish this heat would go down a little bit, but when it's winter, I'll start bitching about how cold it is. So,
yeah,
it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind, and I am never happy. So, I do a little bit about you, Josh, before we actually start getting into the reason why we're here. He's simply a man who's just spent his entire life watching and loving horror ever since his aunt put him as a child, which we will talk about here in a little bit. He's now part of the horror community proudly. And actually, the way that you and I hooked up was because of our shared disdain for a kicked out member of the horror community. But before we talk about that, you are also the vocalist in a band. What's the name of your band?
Outer Resistance.
Okay. And what kind of music do you guys do?
So we're kind of like a clash between like current progressive kind of rock and then classic rock. Kind of fuse those two together.
That's dope, man. I mean, like, prog has always been one of my, I love Rush. I love Coheed and Cambria. Like, I love Fear Before. Like, there's, all these prog rock bands that I grew up with and I totally adore. And I definitely love math rock, man. Like, if you got to make me think, if it's not your typical or your typical beats, like, give me a 6/8 beat. You know what I mean? Like, give me something that's gonna blow my fucking mind when I listen to it. So, definitely dope. And is your band on social media at all? On YouTube at all?
Yes, actually, we have our first music video we released back in this last April, called Burnt Wings. And it's like a full-on shot like music video that kind of bounces between the band and an actual like kind of like storyline. Cool. It was pretty fun. We recorded it in like February, so it was cold as hell, but it made for a really great video.
Well, the cool thing is you guys don't have to go far to look for it, because not only do I have that, but I have all of Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake stuff right down here in the description. So make sure you're following him. Make sure you're staying up to date with everything that he's doing. So we talked a little bit about the band, but what about Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake? What's that all about?
Yeah, so I've had this love of horror like ever since I was a kid. I wanted an outlet to like share my love for horror because I've lived out here. I live out in Washington State, and I've had a lot of trouble finding people that love horror as much as I do. So I was like, well, what's the next best thing is just social media and kind of getting out there and, meeting like-minded individuals who share that passion for horror. And that's how Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake was born.
That's dope, man. Because once you're here, your family and the situation that we were talking about, I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't feel like he deserves any type of relevance whatsoever.
Right.
But we did have a predator in our midst, and we were able to weed him out, get him the fuck out of here. And if you look on my channel, you'll be able to find a video about it. If you look on Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake, you'll be able to find a video about it. Like I said, I'm not going to bring any more anonymity into his name, but fuck the guy. But the cool thing is, super strong women that were able to come out, like Sierra, and let the world know who this fucking douchebag is, really helped the rest of us become closer. So you can find a little bit of a silver lining in a dark, disgusting situation. So,
definitely.
Man, we know what you're doing now. We know what you're doing with Nightmare on Woodsboro Lake and with the band, but here for a little bit, my friend, I want to go back to the past, and I want to talk about what got you started in the horror genre, your first horror movie. And Josh, your first horror movie was
Child's Play.
In my opinion, the best horror franchise of all time. So Child's Play to me is super special. It's always been my favorite horror franchise. It's just so consistent and so good all the way through. Do you remember about how old you were the first time you had seen it?
I can remember roughly. I feel like I was between the ages of 5 and 7. I was really, really young. My aunt had the tendency to like to scare me and show me horror movies, and that's like the first one that she decided she was going to drop on me. She was babysitting me for my mom, and she like popped that in, and I didn't know what was going on at first. Like she kind of just slipped that in there, and I was like, okay, we're watching a movie. And you know, it kind of hit me like in the movie, like as it was going, I'm like, huh, that doll looks familiar.
Yeah.
And I realized like I had seen it on the cover of like at like Blockbuster. I was like, oh God, like it's the doll, because I would avoid the horror section when I was really, really little. I was like, we'd go there to pick movies, and I saw the section and I saw all these scary covers, and I'm like, nope, not gonna happen. And but I'm really glad that she showed me the movies that she did, because it really sparked a fire in me for horror, and really developed me into the person I am today.
Well, I just want to say I think your aunt is truly amazing for doing God's work and introducing you into the horror genre. So we know who you watched it with, but when we talk about Child's Play,
Yeah.
so much effective scenery throughout this movie. And I still think that this franchise as a whole is top notch. And the original Child's Play, I think, is one of the best in the franchise. But which scene would you say it was, Josh, that affected you the most from Child's Play?
Oh my God. It for me was the moment, we caught glimpses of Chucky doing things from like certain angles, but we didn't get that full head on, like, him talking and like animated until like Andy's mom, is threatening to, like, she's like, talk to me, like she's like, I'm gonna throw you in the fire.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
And he's like, starts cursing her out and like attacking her, and just like seeing it in full motion, just like that scene like scarred me.
Right.
Because like I said, like you saw glimpses, but it didn't really like impact me until like I fully saw Chucky in all his glory.
Well, and that's the point in the movie where you know for sure the doll's alive. Like up before that, like they're insinuating it. You never really know. You don't, like you said, that's the first time you see he's alive. He's come to life. We're watching this doll move around. In my opinion, one of the most iconic shots in the whole movie, you stupid bitch, you fucking slut, like, oh God, that is just so fucking awesome. I love that scene. So we know which scene it was, Josh, that affected you the most from Child's Play. But what would you say your favorite scene from the OG Child's Play would be?
Oh my God. I'm sure a lot of people have share the same love of this scene as I do, but it's when Andy and his mom trap Chucky in the fireplace, and he tries to like bargain with Andy.
Andy, no, please. We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friend.
And lights him on fire. And that was just, God, that was my favorite scene of all. Just like, see, Andy, like the whole like movie was just kind of like Chucky's bitch. If we're gonna be honest, he was. And this was like Andy, like, nope, I'm not having it anymore. You're going to hell, Chucky. And I just loved seeing that.
Yeah, and then right after that, you get one of my favorite shots of the whole film when it comes to the cinematography, when you have the burned up Chucky walking down the hallway and he's still smoking and Andy's trying to crawl away. Like, dude, that fucked me up as a kid. Like, it was bad enough seeing this doll come to life, but then to see this, you know what I mean? Like, you actually see he's more than just a doll now. Like, he's been burned, he's been shot, he's been stabbed, and he's still fucking coming at you. So and Child's Play is another movie where we love the kills. Obviously, as horror fans, we love the kills. We gravitate to the kills. The gorier, the better in a lot of the situations. This movie doesn't have a lot of that, which I think is great. I think that they used a lot of practical effects. They stayed within their budget and they stayed within their means, which is a fucking amazing thing to do in a movie like this. So, which kill would you say stuck with you the most, or was your favorite kill from this film?
From the first one, I really enjoyed the voodoo doll. Like when he goes in and visits his old friend.
Tell people where you hide these things, John.
Yeah, I loved it. He's like wants it back, and he's like, oh, where do you want it? And then like breaks the leg and like
the arm. Yeah, dude. It's that scene is another one that it just looks so good, even when you watch it today. And he's you shouldn't tell your customers where you put things like this, John. You know, like, oh, dude, like, and it's so amazing and scary. Like that scene is so scary. Like when you're a kid watching it, seeing the arm and the leg just break as he's doing it, then he stabs it there at the end. Like, oh god damn, I love this movie. So obviously in Hollywood, the remake, the requel, the prequel, the sequel, that's kind of all the rage right now. And in 2019, we did get a Child's Play remake. Usually I ask people, would you like to see your first horror movie remade today? Well, obviously that's just recently happened a couple years ago. Have you seen the Child's Play remake? And if so, are you a fan?
You know, I actually enjoyed it for, for it being different and like the whole AI aspect, and it just went a different route than like the voodoo and like the soul transferring, like, and I enjoy Mark Hamill. He's done such an immense amount of like iconic voices, and he's just a character. So like, I don't, and there was some very inventive kills in this film, like using the AI, like the whole scene with like the thermostat, like the electronic and it was like heating up and he like is hanging above that table saw or whatever's going on. Like, it's been a while since I've seen it, but that scene, I was like, oh damn, like that, and like the dad on the house working on the lights or whatever's going on, and like the grinder too. Like, they had some inventive kills, that was for sure.
I love it. You know, the only thing there's two things I don't like about that movie. One, the doll. I don't like the way Chucky looks in the movie.
Yeah.
And two, the title. They should not have called this movie Child's Play. They literally wrote themselves into a corner when they called this movie Child's Play, because they don't own the rights to the name Child's Play 2. So even if this movie would have been super successful and they wanted to do a sequel, that studio could not have called it Child's Play 2 because they didn't own the rights to that name. What they should have done, in honor of also Don Mancini saying, I don't want you to remake my movie, in his honor, they should have called this movie Buddy from the World of Child's Play. You know what I mean? So that way we could have gotten that fucking Buddy Bear movie that I want so fucking bad. But I just feel like, they really fucked themselves by calling this movie Child's Play. They did everything else right. They left the voodoo out of it. Charles Lee Ray has already been done. Brad Dourif did it. You can't fucking redo that. That's already been done. They took the movie that we all knew and loved, and they made it their own. Awesome. I love when Evil Dead 2013 is another movie that did that. They took the original idea, made it their own. Perfect remakes. These are my two favorite remakes besides The Thing. And it's just such a bummer that they couldn't have just, taken that extra 30 seconds to go, hey, why don't we call it this instead? Because like I said, if it would have been successful, you could have gotten Buddy Bear from the World of Child's Play. So that way you're still honoring Don Mancini's wish of not remaking his film, but you are still creating something brand new. So that's the only qualm I have with the film. So when we're talking about Child's Play, obviously we've talked a little bit about it in depth here, but it is part of a franchise, Josh. And I always got to ask, when we're talking about a franchise, which movie in the Child's Play franchise is your personal favorite?
Oof. Oh man. I've got a tie between two, one from like the original three and one from like the ones down the road. And I definitely have to go with either Child's Play 2 or the Curse of Chucky.
Curse of Chucky was a really good snap back into reality from what Seed of Chucky was. To me, Seed of Chucky is the weakest in this franchise, which is, it's still, great kills, makes me laugh. But Curse of Chucky reeled it back in and made it scary again. Love the fact that you chose that. I don't get a lot of people to talk about Curse, man, because my personal favorite is Child's Play 3. I'll always love Child's Play 3. I think it's so fucking dope, but I don't get a lot of Curse love on here, dude. So I'm really happy that we get to talk about Curse a little bit, because it's really scary, man. Like it. Yeah. You have your mother's eyes. They're too fucking close together. He stabs her in the fucking face, like, oh, Chucky, son of a bitch. I mean, they did some super crazy retconning of everything, but it was worth it to watch that film be made. So, man, we talked about Child's Play being your first horror movie and what that movie meant to you. But now, my friend, I do want to throw a little bit of a curveball here at you. My little buddy Ghostface is here, and he has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Josh? What is your favorite horror movie of all time?
God. Here's another toss up because like I have two that are just always neck and neck. And one is
Yes, sir. The
Scream.
OG.
And
Are we talking the OG Scream, like the first Scream?
oh yes, 1996, the original. And it's between that and Friday the 13th Part 6.
Oh, nice, man. Frank
Yeah.
and Jason.
Yeah. I loved 4, 5, and 6. I loved the Tommy Jarvis arc. And 6, I just loved seeing the growth of Tommy's character into 6. I know he brought like the Jason back that we know is like zombie, like not gonna stop. You gotta like chain him to the bottom of the lake, yet he's not gonna ever stop version. But like just seeing how he went from being like a scared child to, you know, at Pinehurst to being like this strong guy who's like, I'm gonna put Jason in his grave. I don't give two shits. Like, I'm not afraid anymore. You know, like it's just such growth over those 3 films.
Which is funny because growing up, I fucking hated 5. Like I thought 5 was complete dog shit because it wasn't Jason.
Right.
Like you watch that movie, it's totally Jason up to the last 30 seconds when you get the Roy Burns reveal. There's so many funny, like I think Part 5 as an adult, I think Part 5 is my favorite in that whole franchise, man. Like growing up, I would have fought to the death about Part 3. Like Part 3 is it, that's the best. I love it. And I still think it probably, just with nostalgia reasons, that will always be my favorite. But if I went in blind right now and watched them all, any of them between 3 and 7, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, that whole area, it could be different every day, man. I love every single one. So I completely agree with you with the Tommy. Listen, I'll fight to death on this, okay? The Tommy Jarvis trilogy is way better than the Thorn trilogy in Halloween. So I'm gonna throw that out there, and I'm gonna put my sledgehammer stamp of approval on it, okay? Tommy
Boom.
Jarvis trilogy, way better than the Thorn trilogy. Just throw that out there. All right, man. Josh, I've had an amazing time hanging out with you, getting to know you a little bit better, man. And I really, honestly, genuinely can't wait to work with you again in the future. But before I let you go, we always end this with the same question. We're going to bounce back to my boy Chucky. We're going to go back to Child's Play here for a second. And what we're going to do, man, is we're going to rank this movie on a skull count. Now, like always, we're not judging this movie on acting, score, production, none of the above. What we're doing here is strictly ranking Chucky on how much it affected you on first viewing, Josh. So 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. What would your ranking of Child's Play be, brother?
Dude, 100%. I gotta say 5 skulls.
Yeah.
5 skull. It affected me greatly.
Well, I mean, you know, and it's one of those things where I always feel like I could never rank a horror movie as a 5 skull. It could never be a perfect movie. But when how they affected me, I've got a handful of horror movies that I think I could rank 5, whether it be in House 1986, The First Nightmare on Elm Street, American Werewolf in London is one that really got me. Even I thought I was desensitized to horror, man. I was like, you know, I'm 36 years old. Horror doesn't do anything for me. I watch it now to be entertained. And then I watched The Dark and the Wicked, and I watched that. Have you seen The Dark and the Wicked yet?
No, I haven't.
Dude, it's a Shudder original. I watched this movie at like 3 in the afternoon, and I was like, hey, we could open the blinds a little bit. That's cool. We could let a little more light in. Like that movie scared me, dude. Like I said, as a 36-year-old man, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, The Dark and the Wicked rocked me to my core. It has it's an amazing movie, dude. Like I cannot recommend this movie enough. It's, in my opinion, the best horror movie to come out in the last 10 years. And I'm a huge fan of like X, The Black Phone, like movies that have even come out this year. Nothing touches The Dark and the Wicked to me, man. The story's beautiful. The cinematography is gorgeous. The jump scares are legit. The ending will fucking devastate you. Like, please watch it and text me and let me know what you thought of it.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely on my list. I will watch that and I will get right to you as soon as I finish.
You will not regret it, man. So I do want to remind everybody, all of Nightmare on Woodsboro Lakes links are not just down here in the description, but also the band's links and Josh's personal social media links. You can find all that right down here in the description. So make sure you're following him on social media, subscribing on YouTube, so you can stay up to date on everything he has going on now and in the future. You don't have to wait for me to update you on anything. Josh, don't go anywhere, brother. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.